Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. We are jumping right into a topic that honestly impacts pretty much all of us, even if we don't realize it. We're going to unpack the fascinating and sometimes completely surprising science behind some incredibly common nutrient deficiencies. We usually think of malnutrition as literally just not having enough food to eat, but as we're about to see, the reality is a whole lot more complex than that. So, here is a question for you. Are you well fed, but undernourished? I really want you to stop and think about that for a second. We live in an age where food is everywhere. It's unprecedented. Yet we're facing this hidden nutrition paradox. You could literally be eating way more than enough calories every single day to fuel yourself. But underneath it all, your body might be silently starving for the essential vitamins and minerals your cells desperately need to just work right. Okay, let's look at our roadmap for today. First, the modern nutrition paradox. Second, blood and energy builders. Third, essential bone protectors. Fourth, vital system regulators. And finally, filling your nutrient gaps. All right, let's dive right into Section 1, the modern nutrition paradox, or how we are starving on a Western diet. While it's totally possible to get all your essential nutrients from a well-balanced diet, the truth is the standard Western diet usually completely misses the mark. We're eating all these highly processed foods that give us tons of energy in the form of calories, but they've been totally stripped of their actual nutritional value. And because of this, deficiencies in fundamental basic nutrients like vitamin B12, iron, and iodine have become incredibly common all over the world. Moving on to Section 2, let's talk about our blood and energy builders, iron and vitamin B12. Check out this number, 25%. Iron deficiency is actually one of the most common nutrient deficiencies on the planet. It affects over a quarter of the global population. But that overall number kind of hides some really massive spikes in specific groups. It shoots all the way up to 47% in preschool kids who aren't getting iron-rich foods. It hits 30% in menstruating women due to monthly blood loss, and a staggering 42% in young pregnant women. Now, to understand why this happens, we have to look at how we actually absorb iron, because there are two distinct types in our diet. First, you have heme iron. This is found only in animal foods, like red meat, and your body absorbs it super easily. Then there's non-heme iron. That's found in both plant and animal foods, but it's way harder for your body to process and absorb. Because of this biological quirk, vegetarians and vegans are at a significantly higher risk of iron deficiency, simply because they're only eating that less absorbable non-heme variety. And what's truly mind-blowing is how diet choices impact our other big energy builder, vitamin B12. Look at this. Up to 80 to 90% of vegetarians and vegans are deficient in B12. Why? Because B12 is almost exclusively found in large enough amounts in animal foods. But, hey, it's not just about dietary choices. B12 absorption requires a specific protein called intrinsic factor, and our bodies produce less and less of it as we get older. Because of that, over 20% of older adults are also running on empty when it comes to B12. So what happens when you lack these two vital builders? The physical impacts are pretty profound. Running low on iron causes standard anemia, which essentially drops your blood's ability to carry oxygen. That leaves you constantly exhausted and drags down your immune system. Lacking B12, on the other hand, causes megaloblastic anemia. That actually makes your red blood cells physically larger. Plus, it impairs your brain and nerve function and elevates your homocysteine levels, which is a major risk factor for disease. So how do we actually fix it? Well, for B12, shellfish is absolute king. Just 3 ounces of cooked clams give you an unbelievable 1,400% of your daily value. And for iron, if you're relying on non-heme sources like kidney beans or spinach, here's a great pro tip. Always pair them with vitamin C-rich foods like oranges or bell peppers. Vitamin C actually acts like a key, unlocking your body's ability to absorb that really stubborn non-heme iron. Let's transition to Section 3, Essential Bone Protectors. We're looking at vitamin D, calcium, and magnesium. Let's start with vitamin D. It's super unique because it functions almost like a steroid hormone in your body, literally telling your genes to turn on or off. We get it mostly from sunlight hitting our skin, but the numbers here are really concerning. While 42% of the general U.S. population is deficient, that number leaps to 74% in older adults and a massive 82% in people with dark skin. That's because increased melanin naturally slows down the skin's production of vitamin D from the sun. And that leads us straight into our next issue, calcium. This brilliantly illustrates the problem. Extremely few people actually hit their daily calcium goals. We're talking fewer than 15% of teen girls and fewer than 10% of women over 50. Now, your blood's calcium levels are strictly regulated to keep your heart beating and your nerves firing. So if you don't eat enough, your body has no choice. It will literally steal calcium right out of your own bones to keep you alive. Our third protector is magnesium. Think of this as a master mineral. It's involved in over 300 different enzyme reactions in your body. Yet, almost 70% of the US population under 71 and 80% over 71 just don't consume enough of it. And a really subtle long-term symptom of running low on magnesium is the development of insulin resistance and high blood pressure. Now, the honestly terrifying thing about lacking these three bone protectors is that the deficits can silently build up over decades. You aren't going to feel your bones thinning out on a random Tuesday. But eventually, these deficiencies show up as severe muscle cramps, osteoporosis in adults, rickets in kids, and even abnormal heart rhythms or severe migraines if your magnesium drops too far. When it comes to getting these bone protectors into your diet, here's an absolutely crucial note. Experts widely recommend getting your calcium from real food, like sardines with bones or leafy greens, rather than from supplements, mostly to avoid some debated risks around heart disease. Vitamin D, however, is so rare in actual food, outside of things like cod liver oil and salmon, that taking a supplement or making sure you get more sun exposure is often just completely necessary for most of us. All right, moving to section 4, vital system regulators. We're talking about iodine and vitamin A. Let's talk about iodine first. Your body needs it to produce thyroid hormones, and those control your growth, your brain development, and your overall metabolic rate. It is pretty staggering when you look at the global picture. A full third of the world's population is deficient in iodine. It is genuinely one of the most widespread nutrient gaps on the entire planet. So the crucial point here is understanding how we process these regulators, especially vitamin A, which keeps your skin, teeth, and eye pigments healthy. You've got preformed vitamin A, which comes from animal products, and provitamin A, like beta-carotene, which comes from plants. Now, over 75% of people eating a Western diet get plenty of vitamin A, but globally, totally different story. In some developing regions, 44 to 50% of preschool-aged children are deficient, and that leads to some really devastating consequences. When your body fails to regulate these systems, the physical symptoms are severe. A lack of iodine causes your thyroid gland to visibly swell up into what's called a goiter. And in kids, severe iodine deficiency can cause permanent developmental abnormalities. On the other hand, vitamin A deficiency is literally the world's leading cause of blindness, and it severely suppresses the immune system. Looking at our food sources for this final group, for provitamin A, sweet potatoes and carrots are amazing and perfectly safe. Though, fair warning, eating way too many might actually turn your skin a little bit orange. For iodine, just 1 single gram of seaweed, like kelp, packs up to 1,000% of your daily need. But you have to keep in mind, iodine levels in food depend entirely on the soil or water it was grown in. And that is exactly why a lot of countries have successfully fought this deficiency by just adding iodine directly into ordinary table salt. Okay, let's wrap this up with section 5, filling your nutrient gaps, and some practical takeaways. Here is the core, actionable advice distilled straight from the research. Number 1, your best defense is ditching that highly processed Western diet and embracing whole, nutrient-dense foods. Number 2, maximize what you do eat by pairing your non-heme iron foods with vitamin C. And number 3, you really need to know if you're in an at-risk group. If you're vegan, a young woman, or an older adult, your risk for several of these deficiencies is significantly higher. For you or for anyone struggling to get enough vitamin D from the sun, targeted, high-quality supplements aren't just a nice bonus, they might be absolutely necessary. I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought as you go about your day. What's missing from your next meal? You know, it's so easy to just focus on getting full, but true health is really about getting nourished. So take a closer look at your plate, evaluate your own specific dietary needs, and make sure you aren't silently starving your body of the essential tools it needs to thrive. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep asking questions about what fuels you.